All right. Good afternoon, everybody. We are going to get started here. For those that would prefer to go on to YouTube, I did get a YouTube channel started. I don't know how it's going to work. Hey, Craig, what's going on? So the YouTube channel is the same as my handle on eBay, Instagram. It's chalks_cards. So if you would prefer to check it out over on YouTube, you can do that. If you want to go back and listen, or if you missed this, it should be up on the YouTube channel. We'll see how this goes. So trying to do two at once for the first time ever. For those that are first time logging in, this is my name is Chad Gill, better known as Dr. Crack. Today, what we're going to be doing is talking some basketball. I want to cover the Eastern Conference. I'm going to cover all 15 teams. I'm going to talk about 2 or 3 players from each team and whether or not they are buys or sells and why, as well as maybe some cards that have some opportunity going into the playoffs. So we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up to the top. And we're going to start with the Washington Wizards. Now, the data that I'm going to be using here, I gathered 2 days ago on Thursday, the 14th. So these numbers could change a few dollars since Thursday, just so everybody is aware of that. This is not live statistics from today. This is from Thursday. But as of Thursday, the Washington Wizards were in the 15th seed in the Eastern Conference. So with the Washington Wizards, any Washington Wizard that you have, now is the time to sell. I don't care if they're up or down. The one thing that we know historically is as you get to playoff season, soon as the teams drop out of the running, their cards typically drop for the first few weeks or few months into the offseason, and then they start to pick up some steam again. So whether you're up or you're down, your best bet is to sell these teams and their players right now. So the Washington Wizards, the 2 players I'm going to talk about are Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma. The other thing that I'm going to point out that you guys will see is if you followed me on the previous show, I talked about the fact that I like buying basketball cards in season. There was question as to whether or not you could do that. And I said, you will always get a, hey, Danielson, thanks for joining. You'll always get a bump in the beginning of the year from basketball cards. Basketball cards always rise at the beginning of the year. So there's a really good buying opportunity once the season starts, mid-December to mid-January, usually between the All-Star weekend to the playoffs, cards continue to run up. So we're going to talk about that as well. So Jordan Poole, we're going to start with Jordan Poole. And all of these statistics are going to be from the last 60 days. And again, it was from March 14th that I collected them. So in the last 60 days, Jordan Poole has had 14 of his rookie cards were up. So 14 rookie cards were up. They were up anywhere from 6% to 207%. The 207% was his red, white, and blue prism. It went from $13 to $40. So if you had bought that card in early January in the middle of the season, like I had recommended, and you were selling it now, you could basically triple your money. But again, I'm recommending that you sell all Jordan Poole cards right now. There's no sense in holding them into next season. As the Wizards their season is over and they are not getting into the playoffs, and the cards will start to dip here soon. His silver prism is also up 14% in the last 60 days. That's up to $54. Now, if you roll back 180 days, that card was selling for a little over 100. So from 180 days ago at the beginning of the season, you'd have lost your butt if you held on to it. But if you picked it up 60 days ago, right after the new year started, and you're selling it now, you're up 14%. You basically are going to cover your eBay fees and break out even. The other player on the Wizards we're going to cover is Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma, he had 5 cards that were up in the last 60 days, anywhere from 15% to 80%. His Prism base. So you're going to see a common theme here as we're going through these teams. You hear me say the card that I like to gauge everything on is the Silver Prism. The Silver Prism is the card that kind of dictates, to me, it's like a tracker, like a NASDAQ tracker. The Silver Prism will tell you if cards are going up or down. It's the mainstream. It's not an autograph. It's not too expensive. It's nice right in the middle. It's collectible. But what you're going to find here is that the cards that are up in the last 60 days are the lower priced cards. And that is yes, I am in the office. I just got done with work and thought that because I missed my Wednesday live stream, I thought I'd stick around after work with you guys and talk some basketball. But what you're going to find is that the cards are not always the Silver Prisms and the autographs that you see rise right now with the economy the way it is. A lot of the cheaper cards are the cards that had the most significant gains. So like Jordan Poole, the red, white, and blue Prism, it's a nice card. It's not a bottom end base card, but that card saw a 200% gain, 207% in 60 days. So Kyle Kuzma's card that rose the most was 80%. That was his Prism base. That card went from a whopping $7 to a whole $14. $7.50 to $13.50. So it's 80%, not quite 100%. Doesn't sound like a lot, but the card is almost doubled, right? His Silver Prism went from $42 to $25. So that tells me that because his Silver Prism is down, all of his other cards are going to start heading in that downward trajectory. I don't know as though there's too many Kyle Kuzma collectors out there, but if you have Kuzma or Poole, now is the time to sell. If you wanted to make a speculative play for next year, I would wait until after they're eliminated, but I would look at the Silver Prisms for both Poole and Kuzma in the offseason if they're players that you believe in. Number 14 in the East is the Pistons. They are quite a disappointment, really. They've got a lot of different talent on their team. It just didn't gel this year. Cade Cunningham has been everything that we wanted him to be, right? He's having a solid season. He just doesn't have any help. They've made some trades. My preseason pick for a dark horse flyer, Simone Fontecchio, got traded to Detroit. He is the second leading scorer on that team. So Fontecchio actually worked out really well as a flyer. If any of you guys went after Fontecchio, now is the time to sell him, as is the time for Cade Cunningham, as is the time for Ausar Thompson. Thompson's been hurt and his cards are down a little bit, but as the Pistons get eliminated from the playoffs, now is the time. So what I'm going to recommend is that you sell all your Pistons. Don't hang on to any of them. You can buy them back in 60 days for a much cheaper price than you're going to get today. But Cade Cunningham had 31 cards in the last 60 days that were up. Now, when I talk, every card I'm talking about is last 60 days, as well as they're all PSA 10s. I'm not talking about any other grading company. I'm not talking about PSA 9s or any other grade. Everything I'm talking about are PSA 10s. So he had 31 cards, 31 opportunities in mid-January till now to make money on Cade Cunningham. Now is the time to sell. Those cards were up, some of them up as high as 135%. At 135% was his Mosaic base. That card went from $10 to $23.50. Again, small margins, but in volume, you can make some money. So if you'd have bought, say you had $100 to invest and you'd have bought 10 of these at $10 a piece, now all of a sudden that $15 that you're going to gain, it's $150 when you do it in volume. So when you're doing some of these plays, sometimes you have to have volume behind them to make it worth your while. His Prism Silver was up 32%, went from $189 to $250. I do think $250 for his Silver Prism is probably a decent buy. I just think that you're going to see that card drop probably down into that 175 range in the offseason once they get eliminated. So if you're interested in a Cade Cunningham Silver Prism, I would put it on your watch list and start watching. As soon as that card starts coming down in the next 2 to 4 weeks, buy it at that point, put whatever dollar amount you're interested in, whether it's 175 or 200, because once it hits that bottom, it will start to come back up. Cade Cunningham is somebody that I think is certainly investable for next year. Oscar Thompson, I'm going to tell you to sell his cards. Do not buy him back in the offseason. His cards, from what I've seen, he had 6 cards that were up in the last 60 days. However, Thompson, there are still a lot of his rookie cards coming out, and until that market is established, I think you have plenty of time to get in on him, especially with the injuries that he had. So sell him off, get out. If there's one card of Thompson's that you might want to watch, it would be his Silver Prism. It's $75 for a PSA 10. For a highly touted rookie to get a Silver Prism for $75, that's not too terribly bad. But I do think that's going to drop also in the next 60 days. Number 13 in the East currently is the Charlotte Hornets. We're going to talk about LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball's been out. He's been injured. LaMelo Ball still, even though he's been out, is a relevant name in the hobby. He might start to turn into like Lonzo, where people get fatigued. They're not interested because he's always hurt. He's on a bad team. He hasn't gotten to that point yet. I still, when I'm at card shows, hear people asking for him, even though he's been out and injured. In the last 60 days, he had 40 of his rookie cards that were up. 40 of them. So very relevant player yet, even though he's been out injured. They've been anywhere from they're up anywhere from 1% to 109%. The 109% was his Mosaic NBA debut green Mosaic. Now that card went from $21 to $45. So that's a nice double your money opportunity. But again, the Hornets are going to be eliminated here. They're already eliminated technically. They're still alive, but the Hornets are not going anywhere. If you have any Charlotte Hornets, sell them now. If you're a believer in the Hornets or LaMelo Ball or any of the players, just like the previous two, the Pistons and the Wizards, sell now, look to buy them back in 30 to 60 days. I'm going to talk about 2 more Charlotte Hornets because I think there's 3 players worth mentioning on the Hornets. You got LaMelo Ball. You got Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller's intriguing because he was a very high draft choice, might have had a chance at Rookie of the Year had Chet not got hurt last year, and Wembanyama, a generational talent is in the NBA this year. In last year's class, Brandon Miller probably wins Rookie of the Year. Brandon Miller is somebody that is investable. He is somebody that I'm watching. He's had 7 cards that were up in the last 60 days, anywhere from 4% to 112%. The 23 Prism Instant Impact card was the card that was up 112%. That card went from $26 to $55. That is a card that if you have it, sell it. Instant Impact in a 2023 with the volume that they made, that card is the pop count on that card is only going to continue to go up, which is only going to continue to drive that price down, especially in the off season. I see that card dropping at least in half between now and the next 60 days. His Silver Prism is down 30%, but that's because it just came out really in about the last 90 days. So that's not uncommon to see. But even down 30% in the last 60 days, Brandon Miller's Silver Prism is sitting at $315. That's too much. That's too much. When you compare, look at other players that you can get their Silver Prism rookie cards for $300. And there are a long, long list of players that I would much rather have for $300 than Brandon Miller. I think he's going to be good, but I think as the pop count continues to climb, that Silver Prism is going to continue to drop. I expect that card to drop closer to $200 and some dollars, maybe close to $200 in the offseason if you really believe and want to try Brandon Miller Silver Prism for next year. Miles Bridges. Yes, SGC card collector. Tyrese Maxey for one, that for sure. If you could have a Maxey or a Brandon Miller, who are you going to take? I'm going to take Maxey every day. We'll get to Maxey. Sixers are higher up the list, but Maxey is going to be a recommended buy still as we go into the playoffs. Spoiler alert. Miles Bridges. So Miles Bridges had a lot of off-court troubles, which made his cards really tank. He's come back and played to the level that everybody knew he could play at. And that makes things really intriguing for his cards. It means that the hobby hasn't rejected him. He's only had 3 cards go up in the last 60 days, anywhere from 16% to 40%. The 40% up was the Purple Wave Prism. That went from $20 to $30. And his Silver Prism is down 33%. It went from $57 to $38. Now, we just talked about Brandon Miller at $300 for a Silver Prism, and we're talking about Miles Bridges at $38. So I'm a sell on LaMelo Ball. I'm a sell on Brandon Miller. I think their cards are going to get cheaper. I'm not convinced that a player of Miles Bridges' caliber, that a Silver Prism is going to get much cheaper than $38. Could I see it maybe dropping to $30? Maybe. But there's a chance that maybe he gets traded next year. With the season that he had this year, I think $38 is cheap. So I'm going to recommend that if you can find a Miles Bridges Silver Prism in that $30-ish range, to go ahead and snap that up. You don't need to be selling that at this time. Number 12 is the Toronto Raptors. The Toronto Raptors had a little bit of a season in terms of transactions and trades. Gone is Pascal Siakam, gone. And in now is, they had got rid of Van Fleet. And now they got RJ Barrett. They've got Emmanuel Quickley. They've got Scotty Barnes to build around. Those are the 3 players I'm going to talk about. However, the Toronto Raptors have never really been a collector hotbed. Players don't ever take off per se in Toronto. Values card-wise, I mean. Because if they should have, Siakam's cards should have been way higher than what they ever were when he was in Toronto, because he's a good, solid player. So this we take with a grain of salt. I'm selling all my Toronto Raptors because, again, I believe heading into the playoffs, with them missing the playoffs, I think cards are going to go down. RJ Barrett has had 19 cards in the last 60 days that were up anywhere from 1% to 860%. RJ Barrett's 860% was, believe it or not, you could buy a Don Russ base PSA 10 for $1. There were about 7 sales at $1 back in mid-January for a PSA 10 RJ Barrett Don Russ paper base card. For if you can get a Donruss rated rookie of a player currently playing in a PSA 10 for $1, buy the card. There's nowhere to go but up, even at $2 or $3. Those are the types of plays when you see them either on eBay or you see them at a local card show. You got to buy the card. There's nothing but ceiling there. There's no floor. But anyways, that card went from $1 to $9.50. Still a very low price card. But if you'd have bought all 7 of those, now you're talking, $70 profit instead of the $9 profit that you would have had. His silver prism, however, was down 26%. It dropped from 61% to 45%. You saw recently, if you're following my IG account, one of my pickups of the day recently was the red, white, and blue RJ Barrett. I bought 2 of them. I am looking to sell those currently and get out of them, turn a small profit, and move on, because I do believe that his cards will drop as the Raptors get eliminated. Emmanuel Quickly. Let's see here. I have a Quickly Red Ice Prism PSA 10 when we selling. It's been a no bites. I'm selling my Quickly, so I'm going to get to Emmanuel Quickly next. Sell Quickly now. I believe that his cards got that nice spike from the trade. He's been playing terrific. That's helped hold that spike a little bit longer than normally would have. But the Raptors are going nowhere. They're going to get eliminated from the playoffs, and his cards are going to drop in the offseason. There is no sense in holding on to Quickly any longer. Get them listed. If you're not having any success with the buy it now, lower the buy it now. Auction it. That's another option. If you want to get it gone, put an auction. What I like to do, if it's a card I want sold for sure, I'm going to list it on a 7 or a 10-day auction. If it's a card that I'm not that worried about, the majority of my cards I put buy it nows on there. But if I put a buy it now on a card and it sits for 2 weeks and I've got no bites on it, I lower the card, because anybody that, I don't know if this is a selling tip or not, or if everybody knows this, but on eBay, if you have somebody that's watching a card of yours and you lower it even $1, they get an email stating that the card has been lowered. So the longer the card is on there and the more watchers you get, if you lower the card even by $1, or lower it by $1 and change it to or best offer, you're going to send out an email to all of those watchers, and it's going to bring it back to the forefront, and maybe you get somebody that throws an offer out on it at that time. So either lower your price a little bit, Mark, and try $5 less and see if that gets anybody, or throw it out on a 10-day auction and make sure that you're starting it. I like to start my auctions to where they end at 8 p.m. Western time, which is 11 p.m. Eastern time. People are willing to stay up between the hours of 8 and 11 or 7 and 10, somewhere in that neighborhood. I think those are the times that you get your best bang for the buck. But Quickly said 7 cards up, 207%, anywhere from 20% to 207%. His Hoops base card was the card that had 207% jump. That card went from $3 to $10. Again, not a huge significant card, but 200% is 200% if you're buying that card in volume. His silver card also is up 41% in the last 60 days. That card went from $51 to $72. And that card is a card that I would be looking to sell now. At $72, I don't see it sustaining that price. $70 is not a lot for a star player like Quickly on the Raptors, but I buy the dip in the offseason, sell it now at 70, buy it back at 45 or 50. If you still truly believe in Quickly. I like Quickly as a player. I just don't care for the Toronto team this year. If you're looking for a buy and you want to do it in bulk and you're not looking to spend a lot of money and you want a low floor, Emmanuel Quickly base prisms right now are selling for $5 to $7 on eBay, depending upon how many people bid against you in an auction, but load up on an auction, buy that card for $7. The worst that card's going to do is drop to maybe $4 or $5, so it's a very low floor. But that card very easily could be a $15 to $20 card if he starts out hot at the beginning of the year. So that's a card you can buy in bulk in the off season. Maybe designate yourself $50, and you could get anywhere from 5 to 10 of them for $50 and sell them in bulk come the beginning of next season, because there will be some hype around quickly in the Raptors. Scotty Barnes is the third player on the Raptors that we're going to talk about. Scotty Barnes is a player that you also should be selling right now. He's had 10 cards up in the last 60 days, anywhere from 5% to 45%. At 45%, it is the optic base that went up. That card went from $9 to $16. His silver prism went from $220. It dropped to $123. So if you bought into a silver prism Scotty Barnes, you are taking a bath right now, as that card's down 45%. At $123, that's probably where that card belongs, in that $75 to $125 range. I could see that card dropping a little bit more, again, because he's on the Raptors and they haven't done anything yet. But if you wanted in the offseason to pay $75 to $125 for a Scotty Barnes silver prism, I couldn't fault you for that. There is ceiling there. I could see that card getting back up into that $200 range if he plays well. But again, Scotty Barnes just isn't a sexy enough player to where he's doing anything to attract attention, create some hype. So I'm staying away from Scotty Barnes. I've never been buying into Scotty Barnes. I don't plan on buying into Scotty Barnes. So I would sell Scotty Barnes now. If you wanted to buy into one, the optic base at $16 right now, I could see that having $30 upside for a double your money play. Maybe it drops to 10 or 12 bucks in the off season, so you could maybe get it a little bit cheaper. But if you're going to make a Scotty Barnes play, I'd maybe recommend the optic base. Question from SGC Card Collector. Had a Jackson Holiday Sky Blue refractor on eBay for like 3 weeks, lowered the price $10, and somebody hit the buy it now yesterday. Congratulations. Yes. So that's just reiterating, making sure if you're doing your buy it now prices, don't just set them and forget them. Tweak them. If it's even $1, guys, as long as there's people watching the card, they will get an alert that the card got lowered, and it'll draw attention to the card. So make sure that you are, all your buy it nows on your eBay store, that you are getting them adjusted at least every 30 days. I like to do every 2 weeks on my cards. Number 11 in the East is the Brooklyn Nets. There's 2 players we're going to talk about. I thought about a third player, but he just doesn't get any love in the hobby. The one I'm not going to talk about is Cameron Johnson. I was high on Cameron Johnson going into this year. I thought he could take a nice leap. And it just appears that the hobby does not care about Cameron Johnson. Even though he had a nice year, his cards are down, and they just don't sell well. And you can buy them for, he's in that $5 to $20 PSA 10 bin or box at a card show. So we're not going to worry about Cameron Johnson. We're going to talk about Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges is the player on the Nets. If you're going to chase anybody, Mikal Bridges is the player. He's had 6 cards up in the last 60 days, anywhere from 5% to 87%. The card that's up 87% is his Donruss base. That card went from $8 to $15. His silver prism, however, is down 16% in that time, from $53 to $45. Now, remember when I talked about not wanting to spend $300 on a silver prism? Here is a case where you could get, for $45, you could get 5 of them, 6 of them, 7 of them, 7 of them really for $300. Mikal Bridges, it's 2018 as his rookie card. It's not that high a pop. He is a player that is an excellent player. He needs to get some help around him. He can be the focal point. I don't know if he's going to force his way out of Brooklyn or if he's going to stay and they're going to try and build around him. But at $45 for a silver prism PSA 10, I'm going to recommend that that's a buy if you can find, or if you believe in Mikal Bridges. I'm going to be looking in the offseason to pick a couple of them up. If I can get them in that $40 to $50 range, I see a very low floor and a high ceiling on that card. I can see that card easily jumping up to a $100 card if the Nets do anything in the offseason. The next one, obviously, is Cam Thomas. We've had so much up and down yo-yo roller coaster ride with Cam Thomas. When he's throwing 45 points a night, his cards go wild. When he's throwing 18 to 22 points a night, nobody cares about him. The Nets don't seem to really have a plan for him. I'm hoping that he works his way out of the Nets. He needs to get away and become a focal point because he is a bucket. The guy is a scorer. The guy can light up a stat line like you ain't never seen. The problem is that, my understanding, the Nets, he doesn't play defense. He's an offensive player, but if he could go to the right team, he could easily throw 30-plus points a game up, contend for leading scorer, and have his cards go kaboom once again. But right now, I'm recommending that you sell Cam Thomas. He's only had 3 cards up in the last 60 days. 20% was his highest gainer. That was his silver ice or prism ice card. That card went from $50 to $60. His silver prism is down 28% from $127 to $90. I could see that card continuing to fall this offseason because he has not continued to fill up the stat line like we thought he would. I could see that dropping another 30, 40, $50. It wouldn't surprise me to see his silver prism get down into that $40 range like Mikal Bridges card is right now. I'd rather have a Mikal Bridges card than a Cam Thomas card and a silver prism, if I'm being honest. I think Cam Thomas is a great scorer and has a much higher ceiling than Bridges, but Bridges has a much lower floor, so and he's half the price. So again, I don't think the Nets are going anywhere. And they have a chance at making the play-in game, but they would have to get hot here. I don't see that happening. So now is the time. Sell your Brooklyn Nets. Sell Cam Thomas. Sell Mikal Bridges. Number 10, the Atlanta Hawks. They are a mess. It sounds like DeJounte Murray wanted to get traded. They tried to trade him. They couldn't find a suitor. Trae Young, there's questions about his desire to win. It sounds like he just wants to go out and throw up 30 points. It wouldn't surprise me if the Hawks traded him. He just is not the guy that everybody thought he was going to be. He is very good offensively, but he is definitely not the second coming of Steph Curry like everybody thought he would. So Trae Young, go ahead and sell your Trae Young cards. He's got 35 cards up, anywhere from 2% to 247%. 247% was his Revolution base card. That went from $11 to $40. His Silver Prism was up 10% from $149 to $165. $165 seems pretty reasonable for a Silver Prism Trae Young, but I'm holding on that. We're selling. I am not buying currently on Trae Young. If I was looking to buy Trae Young cards, I would look at his Don Russ rated rookie paper base. That's a $20 card right now, and I can see that easily being a $40 to $50 card come start of next season if the Hawks make some good moves in the offseason. DeJounte Murray only had one card up in the last 60 days. It was up 93%. It was his Optic Red, serial number to 99. It went from $58 to $114. It's a bit of a color match, which I think is why that card went up, as well as serial number to 99. His Silver Prism is down 32% from $86 to $58. I'm a buy on DeJounte Murray Silver Prisms. If you can get into a Silver Prism for around 50, $60 for DeJounte Murray in a PSA 10, I don't think he is going to stay in Atlanta. If he gets traded to the right team, you could see that $50 to $60 card easily double next year. Or if the Hawks do something well, you could see that card go up. So I am a buy on DeJounte Murray Silver Prisms in that $50 to $60 price range. Ninth seed is the Chicago Bulls. DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, everybody thought they were both going to get traded. They didn't get traded. The Bulls aren't doing anything in the playoffs. I think they're going to get trounced early. They could make some noise. I just don't think they will. So I'm selling the Bulls, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine. If you've got those cards, get rid of them. DeMar DeRozan's 2009, so it's a little bit older card. There's not as many on the market. They don't sell very often. If you have them, sell them now. You can buy them back. His Zach LaVine, his silver has been flat because it doesn't sell very often. His Select Concourse Purple and White was up 123% in the last 60 days. So if you have any Zach LaVine cards, I'm selling them now and looking to buy back in the offseason. I think he will have a good chance of getting traded next year since they didn't trade him this year. And if he goes to the right team, you could see his cards go up. But I'm just not buying now. I'm selling Zach LaVine. Number 8, we got the Miami Heat. Jimmy Bucket Butler had 2 cards up anywhere from 36% to 122%. It was his past and present card that went from $27 to $61. His Silver Prism hasn't had any sales because it's not a very high volume card. His Prism base currently sits at $137. That card is up from $104 just a month ago. As playoff time rolls around, Jimmy Butler's cards typically go up. I do think that the Heat are going to make some noise in the playoffs. I could see them winning their play-in games and getting to play maybe the Celtics in the opening round or the Bucks or the Cavs. And I think any one of those 3 teams, the Heat match up well and they could cause some problems. And if Butler does some big things in the playoffs, his cards typically rise. So I would be a buy on Jimmy Butler right now. Same with Tyler Hero. Hero's had a good year. However, he's had a lot of injuries. His card's up anywhere from 3% to 108%. The 108% was the Mosaic Reactive Blue, went from $12 to $26. Pretty insignificant card. His Silver Prism is down 20% from $66 to $53. His Prism base is only a $10 card right now. If you can buy Prism base PSA 10 Tyler Heroes for $10, that easily could be a $20 or $30 card in the next month or two if the Miami does anything at all in the playoffs. If they have a couple of good games and Hero throws a 30 or 35 point effort on an upset win at whoever they're playing in the first round, I could easily see that card double or triple. So the buy there is the Prism base Tyler Hero for around $10. Number 7 is the Pacers. The Pacers have been kind of a free-falling team lately. They just lost Mathern for the rest of the year. I think that's really going to hurt their chances. The Pacers, as a Bucks fan, the Pacers scared me because they match up really well. They tend to have the Bucks number. I think losing Mathern is going to be a good thing for the Bucks. Halliburton's cards, 24 cards up anywhere from 2% to 87%. 87% up was his Select Premier Red Wave, went from $54 to $101. His Silver Prism's down 21% from $450 to $350. Halliburton's the type of player that if the Pacers make some noise in the playoffs, he's going to be the leader of that team. Those prices could shoot up drastically. However, as high as I am on Halliburton, I'm not buying into his silver prism at $350. I think it's too expensive. I will look for that to drop under 300 in the off season. However, his prism base, which is his commodity card, it trades often. That's a $41 card right now. I could see that card doubling very easily to 75 or $80 come the first round of the playoffs, especially if they win the first round of the playoffs. That's a card that I could see some good return on investments. Pascal Siakam, again, just like in Toronto, he's a good player. He just doesn't get a lot of hobby love. I'm staying away from Siakam cards. If you have them, sell them now. There's no reason to hold on to Siakam cards. He just doesn't get any love. Number 6 in the East is the 76ers. 76ers, Tyrese Maxey. Here's our Maxey talk. 21 cards up in the last 60 days. Anywhere from 1% to 309%. The 309% card was his, let's see here, the 309% card was his select Concourse silver card. That card went from $23 to $96. If you have that card, that's a card I would sell right now. I'm not super high on select cards, especially in 2020. If they've got value now, get rid of them. The cards that I'm looking at for Tyrese Maxey are his Optic Hollow, his Silver Prism. If I was going to do select, I'd want the courtside Silver Prism because they're very low population. Or his Rookie Signatures. His Rookie Signatures is a Prism Rookie Signatures. $174 is the most recent sale. For a player of his caliber to get a rookie autograph card in a PSA 10 for $175, I think that is a great buy. His Silver Prism sits at $260. Brandon Miller was $325. So the point that we made earlier, he is $60 cheaper than Brandon Miller, and he has proven himself that he is the alpha dog. Even when Joel Embiid is there, he's still dropping 30. Without Embiid, he's carrying that team into the playoffs. I could see the Sixers winning their first round game or first round series potentially. And if they do, it'll be all on Maxey's shoulders. And I could see any of his cards, all of his cards jumping drastically if the Sixers can win that first round series. But specifically his Optic Hollow for $95, his Silver Prism at $260, and his Prism Rookie Signatures at $175. Those are the 3 cards of Maxey's that I am targeting right now for flipping opportunities. Joel Embiid, it does not look like he's going to make it back for the playoffs. So if you wanted to get in on Embiid, his Prism base right now is down to $125. That's about as low as it's been in the last several years. Embiid is going to be back. When he comes back, he is going to be in the running for NBA MVP like he is every year. So I am definitely a buy on his Prism base at $125. I say whether it's off season or not, go ahead and buy that card. You should do fine at around that $125 mark. Number 5 is the Orlando Magic. Paolo Banchero, he's done nothing but ball out this year. He's part of the reason why the Magic are doing as well as they are. Him and Franz Wagner are the 2 standouts on this team. Banchero has 56 cards that are up in the last 60 days, anywhere from 2% to 186%. Up 186% is his Prism Instant Impact card. The card went from $10 to $30. That's a card I would sell if I had it. That is not a collectible card. So if you can take a 2x your money and get rid of that card, profit now and get rid of it. His Silver Prism is up 10% from 270 to 300. If I had Banchero Silvers right now at $300, I would be selling. I do not have any faith in the Magic making it if they make it past the first round, they've got the Knicks in the first round right now. If it ends, four would play 5. They play the Knicks. I like the Knicks in a series over the Magic. And that means that Banchero's cards are going to fall in the offseason. So I am not a buy on Banchero right now. I am a sell, even though they do look like they are going to be in the playoffs, and a lot of his cards are up. A card that I might target of his in the offseason would be his Optic Hollow, which is currently at $80. That's a card that I think at $80, that card's got a lot of upside. Franz Wagner, he has 16 cards up in the last 60 days, anywhere from 3% to 115%. Up 115% is his Prism base card. Went from $20 to $44. His Silver Prism is down 40% from $225 to $135. I am still not a buy on Franz Wagner. I think that he is a fine player, but he does not get the love or the hobby love that he needs. So I am staying clear of any Wagner cards. So if you have them, sell them. Now is the time, as they are getting into the playoffs. Sell them now before they get eliminated. Number 4 is the New York Knicks. Jalen Brunson. I am high on Brunson. If I am correct and the Knicks beat the Magic in the first round of the playoffs, you are going to see Brunson cards continue to climb. He's had 17 that are up in the last 60 days. His Prism base is up 123% from $56 to $125. That's a card, if I have it right now, I'm selling at $125. However, his Silver Prism is up 50% from $122. Most recent sale was $200. I think there is room on that $200. I could see that being a $300 card if they win the first round of the playoffs. So that's a card you could potentially target and look to short-term flip. If you believe that the Knicks are going to win the first round of the playoffs like I do, that is a card that you could target. Jalen Brunson cards in the short-term flip, he's one of the best investments there is right now if the Knicks win the first round. And if they win the second round, look out, Brunson cards will go nuts. So I like Brunson for short-term flips. The other player on the Knicks is Julius Randle. He's injured. He's out. He doesn't get much hobby love. So I am not doing anything with Julius Randle cards. I'm out on Randle completely. Bears trade Fields to Pittsburgh. Did that just happen? I heard that it was gaining a lot of steam. I think that is horrible for Justin Fields' card values, as him and Russell Wilson, one of them is going to be a clipboard holder this year. If Pittsburgh was going to make that trade, they should have not signed Russell Wilson. I think it's good. Pittsburgh's got, solid number 1 and 2. I am going to be going home tonight and listing all of my Justin Fields cards immediately to sell them before people realize that going to Pittsburgh is going to be bad for his card values. So, Mark, if you've got any Justin Fields cards, I would list them. I'm listing all mine tonight if that trade just went down. Thanks for the heads up on that. Appreciate it. The third seed is the Cavaliers. Cavaliers have Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley. Mobley, much like Julius Randle, doesn't get a lot of hobby love, so I'm not going to touch on his cards, although he does have his Hoops card is up 237% in the last 60 days, and his Silver's up 15%. So he's starting to get a little bit love, but I'm not big on Mobley cards. Donovan Mitchell. Mitchell and Garland are two players that, just like Brunson, they're good players. They are buyable players. Their prices right now are not very high. I think that, they're going to end up with the number 6. If they stay number 3, they're going to end up with the 6 seed. If they go to number 2, they're going to have the 7 seed. So right now it's looking like they could have the Sixers or maybe the Bulls, and there goes my light. Yes, sell Fields now. But Donovan Mitchell, He's got 11 cards that are up. 122% is his Optic Rookie Kings. That's a card that if I'm up 122%, I'm selling. Went from $13 to $30. That's not a collectible card. It's not a card that I hold. It's an insert card. If it's up 100+%, sell that card now. The cards I'm looking at of his that I would be interested in, his Silver Prism. Donovan Mitchell's Silver Prism is down 30% in the last 60 days. The card went from $195 to $135. You could get 3 Donovan Mitchell cards dang near for the same price as 1 Brandon Miller Silver Prism. Donovan Mitchell Silver Prism cards at $135 price range are a good buy. Whether he stays in Cleveland or whether he gets traded, Donovan Mitchell's a good enough player. His Silver Prisms should not be $135. That should be a $200 plus card, maybe a $300 card if he's on a team that's winning. I love the Silver Prism Donovan Mitchell in that $135 price range. If you can find him in that price range, buy him. His Optic Hollow is only $41. There's another card at $40 for an Optic Hollow PSA 10. Snatch those cards up. Another card of his is his Fast Break card. It's a bit of a color match because it's like blue and silver border. It looks like a color match, and it's the Fast Break. Those are only $45. So the Fast Break for $45, the Hollow for $40, and the silver for $135. Those are Donovan Mitchell cards that you can buy and make some money on. Darius Garland cards. It seems like we've been talking about Garland a lot. Gary from Hoops and Cards brought up Garland over a year ago. I bought into Garland and sold Garland. I bought and sold probably 10 of his cards in the last year. His silver, so he's got 14 cards up in the last 60 days. His Mosaic Reactive Blue was up the most. It went from $15 to $30. It's up 87%. His Silver Prism is down 15%. It continues to drop. This card is down to $69. This is criminally cheap for a Silver Prism of a guy of Darius Garland's stature. I am buying up all of them I can. I've bought, since the first of the year, I've bought 5 Silver Prism Darius Garland PSA 10s. I've paid less than $80 for all of them. I'm ecstatic. I'm waiting for the boom. When his cards go up, I'm going to profit handsomely. It's a little bit of a longer term play, but if they can make some noise in the playoffs, it would not take much for that $69 to shoot up to $150 or higher. So Darius Garland Silver Prism is the play to make for Darius Garland. Number 2 right now is the Bucks. The Bucks and the Cavs are swapping back and forth between 2 and 3. I wish I had more confidence in the Bucks this year to go and win it all. They just seem to be a bit of a mess. They've been playing a little better of late. Giannis cards, he's had 6 cards up in the last 60 days. His SP Authentic Rookie Auto is up 377%. That card went from $300 to $1,400. So if you have that card and you can 377% your money, sell that card, take your money, take your profits. There are none of his silvers that have sold. His Hoops card, which I've talked about, is a good investment. I've made quite a bit of money on that card this season. I keep buying when it dips and I sell when it spikes. I've bought several of them around $200 and sold them around $275. I think I've bought and sold 5 of them since the start of the season. So the NBA Hoops card is a card that seems to be very liquid, very volatile. If you can buy around that $175 to $200 mark, when it jumps up to that $275 mark, sell it. You can pick up, after fees, you're picking up $30 to $50 per card. And everybody likes an inexpensive Giannis card. So that's still a good card to have. The Damian Lillard cards, Lillard did not give the boost that I thought he would to Milwaukee. I'm not exactly sure if they haven't gelled or what the scoop is with Lillard. He's had 2 cards up in the last 60 days. His Brilliance card is up 25% from $79 to $99. His Silver Prism is down 1% from $1,440 to $1,435. that's too expensive to go spend on a silver prism, so I'm going to stay away from that card. The card that I like is his past and present reigning threes. It's an insert card, so it's a card that's strictly flippable. It's not a card I'm looking for a long-term invest, but with him winning the three-point contest this year, it's kind of a cool card. You can advertise it as such, three-point champion, reigning threes. The card is only $36 right now. 60 days ago, that card was about an $80 card. That card has a lot of room in it, so I would be looking for the past and present reigning threes, PSA 10s in that $30, $35, even $40 range. Lots of room to make some money there. His Prism base is also selling for around $175. That I think could be a $300 to $350 card if the Bucks make some noise in the playoffs and he starts having some big games. That card could easily get to $350 and double its money. So $175 is pretty low for the Prism base Damon Lillard card. Chris Middleton cards right now, just they're cheap. His Prism bases are only $30. They're low population. They're 2012. If you wanted to roll the dice that Middleton comes back, go get his Prism base cards for $30. And the number one team we're going to talk about in the East is the Celtics. They have Tatum, they have Brown, they have Holiday, they have Porzingis. So let me start by saying if you have any Kristaps Porzingis cards, sell them now. Sell them. They're going to make a run in the playoffs. You can list them on 10-day auctions. You can sell them after they win the first round of the playoffs. I think this is the year Boston makes it to the NBA championship. It's the best year they've ever had. It's the best roster they've ever had. And their competition is the weakest it's ever been. In the East, I think they have the clear-cut favorite to get there. So you can sell anywhere between now and the first or second round of the playoffs. You'll capitalize, but sell Porzingis. Do not get cute. Do not hold Porzingis. His stuff is up. His stuff was down for so long. The Celtics has worked out. Get rid of your Porzingis cards. Drew Holiday, same deal. His cards hardly moved at all when he was with the Bucks and they won the championship. His cards barely moved. He doesn't have many because they're Topps Chrome cards and they're older cards. Not many people collect stuff that's that 2009 era, 2000 late 2000s. So although I love Drew Holiday, I think he's the difference maker. I think he's the reason why Boston makes the NBA Finals this year. I'm staying away from Drew Holiday cards. Too hard to come by, too hard to sell. I don't need to be trying to convince somebody why they need to buy my card. However, Tatum and Brown, these guys are guys that you should be buying up left and right now for the playoff run. So I'm going to be selling them in the Eastern Conference Championship game because I don't know if they're going to get upset by whoever they play. Hopefully it's my Bucks and they do upset them. I do think that the Cavaliers match up really well against Boston, and if it ends up being the Cavaliers, I think they could give Boston all they can handle. I think the Knicks match up fairly well against them. But I'm selling. I'm not waiting for the NBA Finals. I'm selling during the Eastern Conference Championships, but I am buying up as many Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown PSA 10s rookies that I can get. Tatum's had 27 cards that are up in the last 60 days, anywhere from 1% to 124%. 124% from $42 to $94 was his Don Russ optic rookie card. His silver is up 12%. It went from $818 to $920. If you have the bankroll, here's the card that I am targeting. The green Prism color match Jason Tatum. This card used to sell consistently in the $3,000 to $5,000 range. The card is all the way down to $1,850 right now. If you can't afford that, you could get a PSA 9 for around $900. And I know it's an expensive play, but that card, if they make the finals, I could see that card doubling from $1,800 to $4,000 or $3,500. this is a chance for you to make a lot of bankroll in a short period of time if you have faith that the Celtics are going to be the favorite and make it to the NBA championships. His Optic Hollow, I just bought one of my pickups of the day was an Optic Hollow I picked up for $340. I saw another one recently sell for $330. That I think that's a $500 plus card. The deeper they get into the playoffs, his optic, base optic. So his base optic is $130. That card could easily be $175 to $200. But I'm really focusing on his hollow because it's the most affordable one. I think it's got a good ceiling. But his green prism, if you've got the bankroll, whether you go PSA 8, 9, 10, I'm shooting for a 10 because I think I have a chance to double my money from $1,800 to $3,500. That is the card I think to own for Jason Tatum going into the playoffs. Jaylen Brown. I love the fact that Jaylen Brown is affordable. He's way cheaper than Jason Tatum, and I think it's 1A and 1AA. I don't think that Tatum or that Brown takes a back seat to Tatum. He does in the media, but Brown is a damn good player. He's a multi all-star, and his cards are way cheaper. So in the last 60 days, he's had 14 cards up, anywhere from 4% to 152%. At 152%, it was his Select Premier card. That card went from $31 to $80. Again, that's a card, although it's a 2016, if I've got that card at $80, I'm selling that card. His Silver Prism is up 6% from $202 to $215. 2016 Silver Prisms are pretty low populations. If I can get my hands on a Jaylen Brown Silver Prism PSA 10 for that low 200s, I'm buying that card. That it's 25% of Jason Tatum's value. 25%. He's less than Brandon Miller by $100. This is the card that you should be spending your $200 or $300 on if you've got it. Jaylen Brown, the deeper they get into the playoffs, the more his cards are going to catch fire, and his Silver Prism is so damn affordable. That is the target of the 15 teams that I just did and listed. If you're only going to get one card, go after Jaylen Brown's Silver Prism at $200. The deeper they get, the higher that card goes. I could see that card being a $400 card a month and a half, 2 months from now when they're in that championship game. The other card is his hollow. 2016 Optic Hollows are really rare. His card only goes for $63, $65, $60. $65 for an Optic Hollow from 2016 with upside of 100 to 125, 150. That's another card that I am focusing my attention on between now and the playoffs, trying to buy a few of them because I think that Jaylen Brown is a very good buy flip in the next 90 days, I guess, if they make the NBA finals, but 60 days. Here's an opportunity for you to flip and make some money. Focus on some Jaylen Brown. Hope this was helpful. If I get some good feedback, I plan on doing the Western Conference next week, Wednesday, and giving you guys some insight as the players to sell and buy, some cards to look forward to, and hopefully we can all make some money on some basketball cards between now and the playoffs. So don't forget to check me out on the YouTube channel. It is Chalks_cards on YouTube. I did live and YouTube tonight at the same time. Go over to the YouTube, click like, put it as a favorite, and add me. Then you'll have the opportunity to watch me on IG Live or YouTube and comment through YouTube as you want. So I'm hoping to get back on my normal schedule, hoping Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central for the next one, and it will be the Western Conference basketball. Thanks, guys. Have a great night. Thanks for watching and joining. And as always, if you've got questions, reach out to me anytime. Instagram, Messenger. Instagram is chalks_cards. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.